Hello everyone, grade 10 students. So here we are having a chapter in biology which is very interesting because that's considered to be one of the basic life activity forms, or we can call it a cellular process or life process that we need to understand and study as a basic study in biology in grade 10. Here we go with the life process. Many of these topics that are coming under, we can call it the subtopics of life process, are all metabolic activities or phenomena that is happening in the body. So like how to recognize a particular living being is actually living or is it non-living? Are we sure that all bacteria are animals? Or can we consider them as plants also? If chlorophyll is there in bacteria, then it should be a plant. Is amoeba, because it can move, it should be in animal kingdom? Why it is considered still as a controversy between plant kingdom and animal kingdom? So many questions are there in which we have to understand what are the processes that make a being living than considered to be non-living, or a biotic factor and abiotic factor. So the main process that we have to study: nutrition, locomotion, movement, reproduction, sensitivity or response to stimulus, all this. Okay, so one by one we will study some of the major 5-6 life processes that make a living thing. First of all, in nutrition, what is it? Nutrition, respiration, excretion, all these things are coming. So first of all, we start with nutrition, process of intake of nutrients and utilization by organism in various biological activities. How we take in food, it can be autotrophic, heterotrophic or saprotrophic. Autotrophic means plants, green plants, they prepare their food by photosynthesis. Heterotrophic means we, animals, we consume food from what prepared by the plant, so heterotrophic. Saprotrophic means those who feed on the dead and decaying organic matter, like the scavengers or termites, crow, vulture, bacteria, fungus are saprotrophic in nature. When we come to know about nutrition or the process of producing food in the plants itself, carbon dioxide and water becomes so important. So major thing that plants require to do photosynthesis is carbon dioxide and water. So in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, they prepare glucose, C6H12O6. So glucose is a primary reserve product or the food that is being produced by plants. C6H12O6, glucose, plus O2 and a molecule of energy or water is also being liberated. So oxygen is a byproduct. Our aim is to produce glucose. So this is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a kind of nutrition that helps in plant growth. Otherwise, we require food because we are depending on the plants, isn't it? We are heterotrophs. The organism which depends on other organisms are called heterotrophs, and kind of nutrition is called heterotrophic nutrition. All plants are producers, also called autotroph. Animals which feed on the plants become heterotrophs. So autotroph and heterotroph, always remember, easy to understand. Self, preparing food is being prepared self or automatically. Heterotroph, they obtain energy by feeding on organic substance. Can be animal also, plant also. That is why we are dividing them into 3 types of heterotrophs. Holozoic. Holozoic means is feeding by ingesting solid materials which then digested and absorbed. We do that. All the higher animals do that, isn't it? We feed, it's been swallowed, it's digested. That's how we get the energy. Saprophyte, feed on dead and decaying matter. Include bacteria and fungi, which they digest food externally before the nutrients are absorbed. So externally, that means they produce some enzymes, onto that they digest the organic matter, then they are ingested. Saprophytes. Parasitism means living on other people, living on others' body, living on a host body and sucking the nutrients and the water, everything, the food that is prepared by the host plant is being taken, or a host animal is being taken. They are called parasites, flea, lice and tapeworms. Steps of photosynthesis. First, absorption of light energy by chlorophyll, then conversion of this light to chemical energy to produce carbohydrates. The major carbohydrate is the major plant's food source, that is. So we get the glucose. Now that there is stomata structures on the leaf, they do transpiration. So stomata are formed of 2 guard cells. The 2 guard cells or bean-shaped structures called guard cells. So when it is open, that means air is passed. There is a gas exchange or water exchange. Excess water that is stored in the plant body will be eliminated out through stomata. So that process is called transpiration. So in order to see stomata, we need to have a cross-section of leaf, a very thin leaf cross-section of epidermis. Lower epidermis contains more stomata. So if you take a lower epidermis cross-section and view under a microscope, you can see the guard cells. So as you can see, the guard cells are the one which, like this, the bean-shaped cells or kidney-shaped cells we can see. Central opening is what you call stoma. Not the full thing is stoma. Some students mistake for that. The central opening is only called stoma and it is present in the lower epidermal cells. So this opening and closing is a process of or a function of guard cells, and the guard cells swell when water flows into them, causing the stomatal pore to open. Similarly, the pore closes if these guard cells shrink. So shrinking and when shrink becomes a flaccid situation, we call it flaccidity, when the water leaves, and when water takes it, it swells up. That both the phenomena are important. When it opens, transpiration occurs. When it closes, transpiration stops. It's a method in transpiration. Experiment to demonstrate chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Easy experiment. Take a potted plant and you just keep them for some dark room in some days. If you can see some patches, instead of green, if you see some dark patches or light patches, that is an example, a clear proof that we can see that leaves or plants require sunlight for photosynthesis. Same way, another one, if you want to see that whether carbon dioxide is actually released, potassium hydroxide will be kept in the watch glass in one potted plant, other doesn't have. Okay, so two potted plants. So potassium hydroxide has got a very important property that it absorbs CO2. Okay, so CO2 is being absorbed and the plants grow because in photosynthesis, CO2 is being taken in. So what will happen? Keep the plants in sunlight for about 2 hours, pluck a leaf from each plant and check for the presence of starch as above activity. What do we see? So we can see that in here, the carbon dioxide is all being absorbed by the potassium hydroxide. So it will not grow because carbon dioxide is not getting into the plants. The other will go. There is no potassium hydroxide over there. So CO2 that is being produced. So CO2 that is being produced will be absorbed by potassium hydroxide. This is an experiment to prove that carbon dioxide is essential for photosynthesis. Amoeba, as I said, a unicellular organism which lives in fresh water by a process called phagocytosis in which engulf food particles. So engulfing food particles, they will observe food, goes near to it, it forms the pseudopodia around it and captures and gets inside. So this property by which another molecule or another particle is being eaten up by the cell is called phagocytosis. Even lysosomes in the cell have the similar property of phagocytosis. Holozoic nutrition in amoeba. Holozoic means taking in, capturing and just digesting it inside the food. Human digestive system, all of you know how it is being arranged. A human digestive system will consist of the entire alimentary canal and the digestive glands. Okay. The alimentary canal starts with the mouth or the buccal cavity. So the food that is being eaten, chewed and swallowed in the buccal cavity and goes down to the esophagus or to the food pipe. From the food pipe, it goes to the stomach. Inside the stomach, first step happens, digestion. After digestion is completed, it's pushed on to small intestine where absorption happens, and from small intestine, it is pushed to the large intestine where assimilation happens. After assimilation, if any undigested waste materials are there, they are being pushed out or expelled out through anus. This is how the basic steps of nutrition is being explained. Ingestion through the mouth, digestion, stomach, absorption in small intestine and assimilation in large intestine and expulsion through anus. Instead, in middle of there, when to do digestion, supportive glands, for example, pancreas and liver also has an importance. Pancreas and liver both secrete some enzymes. Liver secretes bile. Pancreas secretes amylase and lipases. Even small intestine also creates some secretions called intestinal lipase, intestinal amylase. All these act on the starch, proteins or even fats and they will digest. So nutrition in human beings takes place in the digestive system. It consists of alimentary canal and digestive glands. Main organs are mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, anus. Main glands are salivary glands which produce saliva, gastric glands which produce gastric juice, liver and pancreas, a bit of bile, both of them produce, liver is the largest one, and intestinal glands producing enzymes. Mouth, when we come to the alimentary canal in detail, it includes teeth, tongue and salivary glands. All are functioning, okay? Don't think that teeth and tongue don't have a function. They have a function in grinding the food, chewing the food and swallowing. Saliva is secreted by salivary glands called salivary amylase, also called ptyalin, which digests starch into sugar. Any sugar it can be. So starch is a polysaccharide, it's a bigger molecule. It will be converted to minor sugars, or we call simple sugar, monosaccharides or maltose. Esophagus is a food pipe which is being taken later, the food that directly involves into or pushes the food down into the stomach. Then another one which is usually often been disguised as a salivary gland, but it is more producing mucus than saliva. Parotid gland. So parotid gland is situated right here, a little bit inner towards the ear, very close to the skull, inside. So the parotid gland, submandibular gland, sublingual gland, all the three comprise of the salivary glands. All are salivary glands. Sublingual, under the tongue. Submandibular, a little bit on the jaw, on upper and lower jaw. Parotid gland, very much inside into the skull, above the ear. So as I explained to you, this is how the steps of nutrition will take place. Food that is being passed down to the stomach undergoes digestion, temporary storage, after which it is being pushed into the small intestine. Remember, stomach has got a large type of acidic medium because of gastric juice that is being secreted. Inside the gastric juice, you can see hydrochloric acid and an enzyme called pepsin. Both of them are important, hydrochloric acid and pepsin. Together, they digest the starch. Also proteins, yes, and also fats, but fats less. Usually gastric juice can function effectively in the protein digestion and starch digestion or carbohydrate digestion. Stomach basically divided into three areas, fundus, antrum and pylorus. There is another layer called cardiac sphincter, which is close to the heart or a little bit close to the heart. So this is how it's been developed, but it's detail not required for grade 10, so you don't have to worry. You will study that in grade 11. Gastric gland side view, this is how it happens in small intestine when they convert with the help of enzymes. So peptones converted to amino acids, maltose converted to glucose, they are a smaller one. Sucrose converted to glucose and galactose, fats converted to fatty acid and glycerol. So here whatever you see, they are the macromolecules, so the bigger molecules. And here whatever you see, amino acids, glucose and all, they are the minor molecules or micromolecules. Our target is to convert the complex molecule into simpler ones. That is called digestion. Liver divided into two lobes in which they has to produce or secrete bile. So bile is being secreted by liver mostly. Pancreas has a small role. Gallbladder is situated right next to the lobes of liver, and the gallbladder has got a function of storing excess bile. So this is how pancreas and stomach areas, or the first areas of small intestine, are being adjacent to each other. Pancreas is a leaf-like organ. It has also got a duct which produces insulin and glucagon. They are hormones that are very important. So pancreatic juice is the one which we need in this topic. So pancreas produces pancreatic juice which makes the food alkaline, sodium bicarbonate, trypsin, and we have villi. What is villi? Villi is in the small intestine. In the small intestine, the maximum absorptive surface area. For absorption of the food, we need to enhance the surface area, isn't it? Villus is doing that. So villus in the small intestine, they increase the surface area for absorption, and they are richly supplied with blood vessels. Emulsification, mainly of fat. When emulsifying, the large oil drop, if you want to emulsify, for example, you had a piece of butter or curd or cheese, how we have to convert them, or egg or any chicken, any non-veg item you had. So that particular fatty food item will be a bigger one. It has to be converted into simpler molecules. So bile acts on it and forms into smaller oil droplets. So remember about large intestine and small intestine, basic and important varied functions are happening. Small intestine, absorption. Large intestine is where assimilation of the food happens. These are finger-like process inside the cross-section of small intestine called villus. It's the maximum that we can see. Large intestine now divided into three parts: cecum, colon and rectum. You need to study in detail only in grade 11. Here in grade 10, just remember that these are the names, cecum, colon and rectum. Cecum is the first part where small intestine is joins over here. There we have an appendix, which is mostly non-functional organ. Cecum leads to colon. Colon is the largest part, divided into ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon, and then leads to rectum, where food is stored. Undigested food is being stored temporarily and liberated through anus. This is how intestinal villi looks like. It has a capillary network. It has got lacteals which engulf or store fat, and only basic step that involves in the function, please remember, is increasing absorptive surface area. Tooth, dental caries, cavities, they are formed because of non-care and the acids that attack tooth surface or enamel. So that's how the tooth can get damaged. You need to get treated as quickly as possible. Now, respiration is process to generate energy for our metabolic activities by breaking down of glucose. Respiration, isn't it? Involving both breathing, because when we breathe, the oxygen that goes into the tissues are actually converting the food molecules into simpler ones. So we have aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic means presence of oxygen, anaerobic means in the absence of oxygen. Breakdown of glucose by various pathways, different like glucose to pyruvate, and then forms carbon dioxide and energy, sometimes form lactic acid energy in the muscles, and in yeast is ethanol. So just study what are the products formed in each of the area. When glucose is being converted or respiration happens, in the yeast cells, ethanol is produced. In our muscle cells, lactic acid is produced, and in plants or in mitochondria, what is being usually happens is energy production in the form of ATP. So aerobic and anaerobic is different, definitely. One in the presence of oxygen, another is the absence of oxygen. End product here is CO2 and water. Here end product is ethanol. Energy is greater in amount in aerobic respiration. Anaerobic energy released is in lesser amount. Takes place both in cytoplasm and mitochondria. Anaerobic only in cytoplasm. So location, functions, end product. Respiratory system. When we study as a life process respiratory system, we will study that lungs basically, isn't it? And the surrounding trachea, all these things, nostrils and all these parts will come in the human respiratory system if you want to study one by one. First of all, when we see the diagram, you need to see how the passage of air, I will show you. Through the nostrils, the air enters, it goes into the throat and then leads to trachea, also called windpipe. Windpipe or trachea divides into two bronchi, and the bronchi divides into bronchioles. Bronchioles are the one which enters into the lungs. Now, bronchioles are so much of branches. These bronchioles, they divide into tuft of capillaries, connections or bubble-like structures, which are called alveoli. So, alveoli are like bubble-like or grape-like structures, as you can see over here at the end of the branches of bronchioles. They are the site of gas exchange. So, it is in the alveoli oxygen and carbon dioxide meet, or oxygen enters and carbon dioxide leaves, or carbon dioxide enters and oxygen leaves. So, alveoli are situated inside the lungs, which are produced at the end of bronchioles. So, this particular narration or the events which takes place one by one, step by step, that is being mentioned over here in this particular paragraph. Remember, alveoli has a greater role because they are the terminal site of gas exchange. Now, this is how the alveoli in the lungs look like. As I told you, bubble-like or grape-like structures hanging at the end of the bronchioles. So, it is in the alveoli. Actually, they are very, very tiny, very small, and comprise about millions of alveoli in our lungs. So, don't imagine that this is a size. It will be very small. Okay. So, they are site of gas exchange. Now, breathing in and breathing out. When breathing in, the chest expands, ribs are being pulled up, diaphragm is being pulled up, and they contract and air moves in. In expiration or breathing out or exhaling, the diaphragm brings back to the original position, chest volume decreases, ribs brought down, and then air moves out. So, exhaling and inhaling, both are different mechanisms. So, here breathing in air is called inhalation and breathing out is called exhalation, also called inspiration and expiration. Heart, you will study about circulation. When you study about circulation or heart, remember about the chambers. The four chambers are two auricles and the two ventricles. Auricles also called atrium, ventricles are here, which supplies blood. So, this is supplying end and this is a receiving end. Study about aorta. Aorta is the largest artery which brings pure blood to all the parts of the body. Okay. So here, as you see in the arrow direction, what is being given over here is a movement of blood. First of all, remember, vena cava, which brings actually the impure blood or deoxygenated blood, first enters the right auricle or right atrium. From there, the blood moves to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it takes an upper direction, goes to the lungs for purification. Who is bringing the blood to the lungs? Pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery takes the blood to the lungs where blood is getting purified or oxygenated. Then that oxygenated blood is brought back to the heart by pulmonary vein, comes to the left atrium, goes to the left ventricle, through aorta, goes to the body. This particular passage, every student of biology needs to study. Right auricle, right ventricle, goes to lungs. Then left auricle, left ventricle and back to the body. Okay. So at least as a grade 10 student, you need to study the chambers and the blood vessels at least. The detail you will study in grade 11. Okay. So circulation in the body or transport of blood is brought about by the beating heart and the blood vessels. This is how it is being carried. As I told you, lungs is always there for purification and gives oxygen. That oxygen, which I already told you in breathing, respiration, dissolves in red blood cell, and that is why how we get oxygen to different areas. So respiration and circulation are conjoined. Difference between artery and vein. Arteries, they carry blood from heart to organ, pure blood. They don't have valves, they have thick walls. Veins, they have valves, so they prevent backflow of blood. They have thin wall and they carry deoxygenated blood. Blood pressure is something that we measure it, how much blood is being exerting pressure against the wall of the vessel. Normal pressure is 120 to 80, systole, diastole, that is again the contraction and relaxation. The blood have platelets which circulate around the body and pluck these leak the helping to clot the blood. So blood clotting has been provided by platelets, that's one of the cells. Otherwise tissue contains plasma proteins and other cells except RBC, we have WBC, isn't it? White blood cells, platelets and all. It carries digested and absorbed fats from intestine and provide to cells. If you think about circulation plants or transport system in plants, same way, what we are thinking about or imagining, if plants had blood, it will be because of xylem and phloem. Because xylem transports water and minerals and phloem transports food. So here, plants' transportation of materials like food, water and minerals is the main thing that you need to study and remember about xylem and phloem. Xylem is especially for water conduction from the roots to all the parts of the body through tracheids and vessels. And at roots, the cells on contact with soil actively absorb ions. Due to this difference in concentration of ions are created and hence the water moves to the roots. So capillary action, suction forces, transpiration pull, so many theories are there. When you study anatomy in grade 11, you will understand better. Now just remember about xylem and phloem. Transpiration, also I told you before about when we were discussing guard cells. Transpiration is the movement of water, excess water outside of the body through stomata. Translocation is different from transpiration. Translocation of food means what phloem does. Phloem is doing, carrying the food materials from leaf to other parts. Why leaf to other parts? Because photosynthesis happens inside leaf. Okay. So food is produced inside the leaf. That is being transported to other parts. Excretory system, a pair of kidneys, ureter, urinary bladder, urethra. So when we compare some of the features of lungs and respiratory system, circulatory system, the heart, excretory system is rather simple. Okay, lesser parts. So we have the two pair of kidneys and the tube going down is called the ureter. It goes to the bladder and stored over some time and then expelled out through urethra. What are things we excrete? Excretory system removes water, urea, carbon dioxide and other waste like creatinine and salt. Kidneys do the filtering out process. Lungs filter out carbon dioxide. Skin excretes water as sweat. Liver excretes ammonia. So it is not only kidneys that do excretion. There are some other organs. Skin, lungs and also by liver. Excretion is being done in various forms. Waste materials. As you tell, nitrogenous waste is the waste that is being collected mostly by kidney and removed. Highly toxic, moderately toxic kind of materials are there. Like for example, ammonia is mostly poisonous. urea, uric acid crystals. So like that, everything the kidney filters. So this is a diagram I was telling you. The two kidneys joined together by the arteries and the veins to give blood to the kidney and taking away. Two tubes coming out, they join together to form the urinary bladder. So the one which brings the urine out from the kidney is the ureter, then the urinary bladder, and final expulsion or urination out through urethra. Urinary system is a male excretory system. Main excretory system consists of two kidneys, two ureters, one bladder and one urethra. This is how they look like. Nephrons are present inside the kidney, or when we see the anatomy of the medulla part of kidney, medulla and cortex, outer and inner part, we can see the nephrons. Loop of Henle, Bowman's capsule, these are structures that are present inside nephron where the filtration is been happening. Mainly the flow of fluid through the nephrons will be like this, which detail will be you are studying in grade 11. For example, first the fluid enters glomerulus, then to proximal convoluted tubule, goes to the loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, finally into collecting duct. So during this process, the blood or which carries impurities will change into urine, colorless fluid. Composition, water contains is majorly 96% in urine, urea is only 2%. Other all the things like minerals, sodium, chloride, creatinine and all comprise very negligible quantities, 2%. This is how the filtration happens, as I told you. So majorly when dialysis is been happening, we need to remember that when kidneys fail to function, kidneys are failing to function. Okay, so there is no other chance for the person to live. So this machine actually functions as a substitute, an alternate to kidney. So this is being attached to the wrist artery and the blood is being taken into and been filtered and the good blood is coming back to the body. That is dialysis done for kidney failure. So in this unit of grade 10, very simple life process we have studied: transpiration, translocation, mineral movement, photosynthesis in plants. Same way in animals, nutrition, excretion, respiration and circulation we have studied. Only the basic information grade 10 is essential, but the basic information has to be strong with you people in grade 10. Okay, then only you can establish the knowledge from here and move to grade 11. Thank you for watching. Waiting for the feedback.